Hi YouTube. If you're in the market for a new computer, desktop computer to be precise, and you want to be in that $500 range, I think this Mac Mini from Apple is one of the best deals going around right now. For what it packs in and for the price, I think it's a great deal. So I wanted to put out a video to share my thoughts on this and to share what this computer has to offer in case you're interested. So without further ado, let me get this thing unboxed. It's always a pleasure to unbox Apple products. And so this is how it comes out in the big brown box, and the main box is in there. Okay, so here's the main box, and as you can see, it's got Mac Mini printed right across. And really the first thing that strikes me is its form factor and its size. It's pretty tiny considering its capabilities, and I really am pleasantly surprised by this. Let's take a quick look at the specs. It's got 16 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage, and it's got the latest M4 chip from Apple. 10-core CPU, 10-core GPU for graphics, 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports, HDMI port, 2 USB-C ports, and size and weight is 5 by 5 by 2 inches. So that's the size of the actual unit. And it's only 1.5 pounds or 0.67 kilograms. So really tiny, but it is not short on capability. As you can see here, the model number is A3238. Hopefully you can see that. So that's the box. Needless to say, obviously you don't get the keyboard mouse or the monitor for that same price. The box is sold as is, and those other peripherals you'll have to purchase separately. Okay, so let's unbox this and take out the main unit. So as soon as I open it, you can see the unit is prominently right on top of the box. And let's see what else is in the box. So let me put these tabs aside. And as I take out the main unit, we'll take a deeper look at this in a moment. All the other peripherals should be right here. So I'm going to put this aside. I think this is the power cable that comes with it. A really sturdy, good power cable. And there's something in here. I think it's the documentation. So I'll put that aside as well. And that's it. There's nothing else in here. So you get the main unit, the power supply, and some documentation, and that's it. That's what comes out of the box. Okay, so let's take a quick look at this power cord. I like the fact that it's braided. A lot of these power cords come in that plastic rubbery sleeve, but this one is braided, and I really like the quality of it. It's about 6 feet in length, and I think for most people it's a pretty good length for this cord. And now I'll put this aside and take a look at the main unit itself. So it comes with this sleeve here. I'm going to take this off so we can take a good look at the unit itself. So yeah, here's the main unit. As you can see, it's really small. Compared to my watch, as you can see, it's pretty tiny, considering what its capabilities are. Comes in this aluminum metalish chassis, and at the bottom it says Mac Mini. Hopefully you can pick that up. And oddly, the power button, the infamous power button, is at the bottom. So even though it's placed this way, in order to access that power button, you have to invert it. So this is a quirky thing that Apple does to a lot of their products. I think it's a conversation piece. Most people are not going to turn this on and off all the time. So I guess for most people it's okay. But it's quite quirky, right? I mean, there's no reason to put the power button at the bottom. They did that, and I guess they want some kind of a response out of you. So certainly got that out of me. So yeah, so let's take a quick look at what are its capabilities. So I don't know which one would be the front side. I guess this is the front. This would be the rear. On the rear, you have the power inlet. You also have an Ethernet port. You also get a HDMI to hook up your monitor, and you get 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports, which is great. So that's it on the rear side, and on the front, you get a headphone jack, which is great. And then I don't know if you can see this. There is a little LED that tells you about the status, that it's turned on or off. That's there. And then you also get 2 USB-C slots right on the front. So not a whole bunch of ports, but I think it's adequate for most purposes. Obviously, you can extend this stuff by adding more accessories onto it, like an SD card reader or stuff like that, but doesn't come standard. So yeah, that's what it looks like. Very tiny form factor, would not take up a lot of space on your desktop, and really easy to use and interface with. The one that I'm holding in my hand is a base Mac Mini that sells for around that $500-600 range. These prices obviously do vary in terms of when you purchase it, where you purchase it. But it'll be in that $500 to $600 mark, right? So this one I picked up for around $500, matter of fact. But you will normally retail, see this in retailing for about $600. So let's go through some pros and cons of the Mac Mini. And I really picked out 5 main pros and 5 main cons of the Mac Mini. And I'd like to share them with you, and hopefully that helps you make a decision whether this is the right unit for you. So anyhow, so let's get on with the pros for the Mac Mini. So according to me, the first main pro is really its compact design. So if you come from a PC ecosystem, for example, you're probably used to having that long, big tower that powers your desktop. Compared to those, this is so easy to adapt to, right? So it won't take up any real space in your desktop setup. Very easy to adapt into. So fantastic form factor, especially for what it offers. The second main pro is its powerful performance for everyday tasks, right? So for the average user like myself, you won't see really any major issues in terms of its performance. It comes with a 10-core CPU and a 10-core GPU. The CPU is the central processing unit, and the GPU is the graphical processing unit. So you will see that 10-core on both sides is more than plenty for everyday tasks. However, if you are an enthusiast, a gaming enthusiast, or a hardcore user, you might want to consider upper or higher versions of the Mac Mini. They do offer a M4 Pro version also. The price on that is significantly more than this. It typically retails for around the $1,300 to $1,400 range, depending on when and where you purchase it from. So that one will help you ramp up to a 12-core CPU and a 16-core GPU, so significantly higher. So that's a second pro, right? For even the base model, I think has plenty performance for everyday tasks. The third pro in my mind is the memory, right? So this comes with a 16 gigs of memory as in the base model, which is what I'm holding in my hand. It can extend up to 64 gigs. So depending on, what is your memory requirements, what kind of applications you're going to be running on the desktop, you might want to spend more money and get the higher spec version of the Mac Mini. Obviously, the more memory you get, more cost you have to bear, and Apple's website contains that information on how much more you're looking at, and again, where you're purchasing it from. You might get a deal for a few $100 or $100 or $200, something like that. So that's the memory. So it will support up to 64 gigs. If you bump up to the M4 Pro model, you can expect up to 273 gigs of memory. So obviously that's a whole different ballpark. Now in the regular Mac Mini, I think you need to really make a decision whether, what kind of applications you'll be running, what kind of memory requirements you have, because once you have purchased a unit, it's not extensible, right? So you cannot necessarily add on more memory into this box once it's purchased, right? So it is what it is at this point. So it's very important that you make that decision up front because you will not be able to scale it, according to your requirements. So something that you need to be beware and aware of. The fourth pro in my mind is the Thunderbolt 5 ports, right? So you can see there are these 3 Thunderbolt ports back here. These are great because they really support up to 80 gigs of bandwidth, and it'll allow you to support up to multiple 8K displays, right? So if you are going to use a higher res 8K display, which a lot of people will like to have a better quality monitor, it will support that up to 8K. Mind you, you can use any kind of monitor really to get this, but if you want that Apple experience, right? So you'll probably be spending a little bit more money in getting a really nice monitor. There are plenty of options out there. Obviously, Apple has their own $1,200-$1,300 monitor that they sell. That has integrated webcam, speakers, 8K display. So it's really great. But if you don't want to put in that kind of money, you can get something which is really good and you'll be proud of, but won't break the bank. For example, there's a monitor from BenQ that comes to mind that is really designed in a way that it appears to be part of the Apple ecosystem. So there are plenty of options on the monitor side. The fifth pro is the value for money, in my opinion, right? So for that $500-$600 range, the basic capability that this Mac Mini offers you is incredible, right? So as I mentioned, if you're coming from a PC ecosystem and you're going on to the Apple ecosystem, I think this is a fantastic way to jump onto the Apple ecosystem for not necessarily a lot of money, which is typically the main deal breaker for people to get onto the Apple ecosystem is the cost. And I think for that $500-$600 range, I think this is a really good value for money desktop replacement, and I think you'll be very happy using this. Okay, so that's the 5 main pros. Now, coming on to the cons, right? Things that I don't like about this is the limited gaming potential. So if you are going to have kids or other people in your home who are going to use this for hardcore gaming, I think you're going to be a little bit underwhelmed by the base unit, right? So as I said, this is only a 16 gig desktop and not necessarily higher than that, although it will scale up to 64. I think if you are serious about gaming and you're going to use high-end games, this base model might not be adequate for your application. Now, it doesn't mean that it won't run games. There are plenty of games that it'll run very smoothly, but I'm talking about the real premium high-end games, right? That's where it will struggle probably. So yeah, that's the first con. The second con, which I think is more important than the first one, is the lack of Wi-Fi 7. Considering that it came out very recently, I would have expected this to support the latest generation Wi-Fi standard, which is Wi-Fi 7. It does not. It only supports Wi-Fi 6E, and and I think the Bluetooth is 5.3 on this. So it's not necessarily the latest Wi-Fi generation. I would have expected Apple to ship the latest and greatest in their latest release of the Mac Mini. So it's a bit of a bummer. Although Wi-Fi 6 is amazing, right? If you have experienced Wi-Fi 6, it's great. But technology keeps evolving, and that's a point I'll dock from the Mac Mini. The third con I would talk about is the fact that it has no USB-A ports. So if you have a lot of peripherals that need a USB-A port, it really does not come with that, right? So you have these two USB-Cs, but that's about it. So you'll probably need to invest in adapters to make some of your peripherals to work with this. It's not a huge cost, obviously, not a huge deal breaker in my mind, but something to be aware of, right? It does not offer that USB-A standard. The fourth con is the M4 Pro starts at $1,400. Obviously, it's not a con of this unit, but I think the price differential between the base model of the Mac Mini and the M4 Pro is just very, very large in my mind. So yeah, so I think that can be a put off for some people who want this kind of a unit, but not, and need, and like the performance they require is of a higher order. This might not be adequate for them. And then the fifth one is that gimmicky power button that Apple does at the rear, right? So again, not a huge deal, but I'm not sure why Apple did that to put that power button at the bottom. As you can see, it should have been up here, over here, or here, somewhere, right? Easy to get to, but no, you have to turn it around and then get to it. So anyway, so that's a point I'll dock from this. Okay, so here are some overall observations about this Mac Mini. If you're someone who is going to be a average home or professional user with not significant demands on the hardware capabilities such as high-end gaming or high-end data processing, like high-end video editing, stuff like that, I think this is more than adequate for 99% of users out there who are just everyday users, right? For them, I think this is a great desktop for a very competitive price. If you are looking for a small, silent, and a versatile desktop, right, that'll work for you for the next safely 5 years, I think this is the way to go, right? It's got the M4 processor, which is one of the latest from Apple. It's so much ahead of anything that I know on the PC end from Intel and others. I think it's a great processor for what it offers. I think the overall performance with memory on Apple computers is just has been normally exceeding expectations or performance on the PC side of things. So I think for even the base model, it's really, really good value for money. I cannot stress that more. If you're someone who is already using a lot of Apple products, for example, you're an iPad user, an iPhone user, for those people who are already on the Apple ecosystem, but they're still using a PC as their primary desktop or laptop, I think the Mac Mini makes it very affordable for people to jump on to that ecosystem end to end. And you'll see that difference, right? So the interoperability and the seamless experience of using Apple devices is just so much nicer. And so, yeah, I think for those people who have been wanting to get into the Apple ecosystem end to end, but couldn't because of the pricing entry barrier, I think this Mac Mini breaks it. It really is very economical and very useful in terms of its capability. Okay, so I hope this video helped you. And if it did, please give me a like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.